And I had a client who had, he took an early retirement from a large company that was privately held. He'd kind of gone as far as he could go without being a family member. And he took an early retirement. And he was well off and well-to-do, and I was working with him to help him think about next steps. And he told me this story, and it was sad, Randy, in this way. So he said to me, he traveled all the time, worked all the time, but he really made it a priority to always show up to like his kids' big events, soccer games, track meets, dance recitals, like graduations. He was there. So his kids are now grown, and they've gone to college, and they've come back, and one of them turned to him, one of his sons, and he said, Dad, you were always there for the big things, but you were never there for the little things.
Ooh, that hurts.
And it was the little things that matter the most. Wow.
Wow. I love that. It's sad, and you told me that story before, and it hurts your heart to hear it.
Yeah, I almost tear up saying it because it really hurts.
But haven't all of us kind of gone down that path?
Yeah.
Some of us course correct, some of us don't.
That's right. And I think the reason why I'm mentioning this is because each year is different. So for example, this year, I've got a graduating senior in high school. That's a priority. This is going to be his last year in our house as a high schooler. And there's going to be some things that happen this year that I want to make sure I'm there for.
Right.
I've also got some aging parents. I've got an 89-year-old father, an 85-year-old mother, and you and I have talked about kind of the challenges with aging parents. Well, as difficult as they can be, I want to make sure I'm spending time with them, and then I'm making that as much of a priority as I can tolerate, so frankly.
Right.
But it's something on my radar this year that's a little different than my radar last year. So I think the reason why I'm mentioning it is, seasons of life change.
Yes.
And we don't need to just assume it's the same season year after year after year. Don't miss out on those rare opportunities, because you don't get a redo.
Right.
There's no mulligan on this one. If you hit it in the water, you hit it into the water. That's it. So I think that's also good for leaders to step back and think about what's unique this year in my personal life that's a season that I don't want to miss.
If you lose money, you can always go make more money. If you lose time, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
You can't regain time.
Yeah.
So I love what you said, and you're right. There's a seasonality to this whole idea of thinking about what matters, and certain things come and go. I've got a graduating senior from college. My dad is elderly now. Totally get it. But what's interesting, and this is counterintuitive, I think when leaders, when any professional hears this, think about, if you take care of the things that matter most in your life, we've named some big things like, graduating seniors and senior parents, your health, whatever it is. When you take care of those things, work thrives. It's counterintuitive. But in your own experience, haven't you seen it? And in the people that we work with, when you take care of those things that really are important, those priorities, then work benefits.
Randy, I'm so glad you said that, because it made me think about this. We often think about those two things as separate.
Oh, they're integrated.
But they're integrated, and even in this so subtle but important way, who would you rather work for? Would you rather work for the leader that takes time to care for the relationships that are important to her or him, and they make that a priority? Or would you rather work for the leader that ignores all those and works 14, 50 hours a day? Maybe they're getting a little bit better results, but they just push aside all that stuff. We want the more holistic, well-rounded leader.
Right.
That's the person we want to be more like. That's the person who we want to mentor us. That's the person we want to be coached by, because they're going to give us guidance that is more life guidance, not just specific to a particular task.
And the thing I would also say is, if you are listening and you're a leader right now that feels like, I've got some work to do, I'm struggling, you're not chained to a life sentence. You're not in prison. You can actually change the dynamic. You can make changes. So you and I write about this extensively. We certainly talk about it on shows like this. But go figure out a way, with our help or the help of others, to find a way to change your paradigm, move in a different direction. If you don't like the direction of your life and you're working the 15-hour days and you're setting a bad example for your team, you're not chained to that. You can move in a different direction. And we encourage everybody that's listening to actually embrace change if you're in that category.
Yeah, and one thing I'd add to that, and then let's pivot over to leading teams. I would go one step further, very tactical: pay for it. Pay for it. And I'm going to say it one more time so everyone heard it. Pay for it. Because when you pay for it, you're invested, and you're less likely to cancel, and it's going to create a new rhythm and routine for you.